TOEFL Strategies, Track 26.
Listen to a workforce education professor giving a lecture on technical training in the United States.
Technical training has a rich and interesting history in the U.S. For centuries in Europe, crafts guilds had allowed master craftsmen to pass their trade to apprentices, and the Europeans who settled in North America brought the apprenticeship system with them. But as the colonies lacked the strong guild organizations of Europe, apprenticeships came to be administered by municipal authorities. Later, the apprentice system came to be replaced by the school system. But in the eyes of the colonists, the apprenticeship system was seen as an important method for training the people who would build a new nation. America's shift from an agrarian to an industrial society in the 18th century led to a permanent decline in the apprenticeship system. The system was just unable to keep pace with the growing demand for factory workers. New methods were needed for training workers for industrial labor. Put simply, the changes in the workplace required change in the preparation of workers. Now, free public schools for elementary education had been established early on in the colonial era, yet the means for training people to work in the nation's expanding factories, as we said, didn't exist. To us now, combining technical with academic courses in the schools seems like an obvious option, but for reasons we'll get into shortly, this was not seriously explored until the late 1800s. So, separately from the system of public education, technical societies of mechanics and tradesmen, precursors of today's unions, formed what were called mechanics institutes. These mechanics schools provided technical training in a particular trade, as well as basic education in reading, mathematics, and other subjects. At the same time as these technical societies were opening their mechanics schools, businesses began realizing the importance of training workers not just for general trades, but for factory-specific jobs. And so you get, in the late 19th century, the opening of factory schools. That is, training classes that were held on company grounds. By the turn of the 20th century, several of the nation's major corporations, companies like Westinghouse, General Electric, Goodyear, had their own factory schools. And these schools became the precursors of today's corporate training departments. Now, even though privately sponsored technical training was popular, there was strong resistance to the integration of technical training within the public schools. Opposition came from educators who were concerned that technical training would lower academic standards and who felt that moral training and instruction in the basic subjects would provide the best preparation of students for the outside world. Simultaneously, however, the public schools were coming under increasing criticism from people who felt that public school education lacked relevance. It wasn't until the late 19th century that several state legislatures, seeing the success that the mechanics schools and factory schools had in developing skilled workers, began funding technical training curricula within public schools. At the national level also, Lincoln's Land Grant Act of 1862 established college-level training in agricultural and industrial education and did much to legitimize the value of technical training in the public eye.
Now get ready to answer the questions.